we start at verse 13 of the 16th chapter of the Gospel of St. Matthew, when it reads, "When Jesus came into the region of Caesarea Philippi, he asked his disciples, saying, 'Who do men say that I, the Son of Man, am?' You are the Christ, the Son of the living God." Jesus answered and said to him, "Blessed are you, Simon Bar-Jonah, for flesh and blood have not revealed this to you, but my Father who is in heaven. And I also say to you that you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of Hades shall not prevail against it." And again we found the gates, and the title of my message this morning is "The Defeated Gates." We should keep in mind the purpose of Jesus building a church. If we choose to gather together, it's because we choose to worship God and for no other reason, and we should not forget the teaching of Jesus on the purpose of the church. So what is this purpose then? He says the gates of Hades will not prevail against it, and I believe that this is equivalent or as great as what we call the Great Commission. Because if we have to go and make disciples, we do not get disciples out of the church. Jesus did not call his disciples out of the synagogue. He called them out of the world into the church. We have to get them out of the world and out of other churches. And this is what Jesus says when he says the gates of Hades will not prevail against it. So what is Hades? Jesus uses the term Hades as the Old Testament reference to the place where the dead things are held up. Whether it is souls, whether it is bodies, whether it is beings, whether it is hopes or dreams, Hades is the place where the dead things are resting. And the meaning of this message will take a twofold meaning, because it will refer to the dead things in you, and it will refer to the dead people that are surrounding us. And the only way out for some dead things that are held up in Hades is through the door. Are you with me? Because Jesus refers to the gate. And the gate oftentimes, whether it refers to a city, or whether it refers to a building, or whether it refers to an apartment, whether it refers to a place or to a castle, the only way in or out legally and legitimately out of the place is through the gate. The gate is the boundary between inside and outside. Hades is a spiritual place where there is a spiritual ruler that wants you out of it if you want to come in it for the wrong purpose. The gate was a critical place because if you could control the gate, you could control the whole city. And Jesus said that the gates of hell will not prevail against the church. How do we understand how can a gate prevail? And this is where Jesus brought us to reflection. How does a gate really prevail? The gate only can prevail once it is successful in the accomplishment of its purpose. And that is keeping people out or keeping people in. Jesus did not refer to Hades as a whole, because if he knew that if you could control the gate, you could control the city. If you could control the gate of Hades, then you could control Hades. He is saying that the gate of Hades will not prevail against the church because it will not be successful in keeping the living ones out of it and the dead things in it. If the gate prevails, it prevails from keeping you out of it. Why would you want to get in it? To get what belongs to God. Before you are being brought back to life, you are dead. And you are held somewhere in a spiritual place that Jesus refers to as Hades, because Hades holds every dead living being. Everyone that is alive, but that does not know Jesus Christ, is spiritually dead. And this is what the church is for, is to go and call these souls out of the dead place where they are staying and say, come to life. Come to Jesus. So how do we do that? Do we fight the devil on our own? No, we don't. Everything that Jesus calls us to do, He has already prepared a way for us. And it is a blessing to read in Mark 3:27. No one can enter a strong man's house and plunder his good unless he first binds the strong man. And then he will plunder his house. How do you get in the house? Through the gate. Who went in first? Acts 2:27-28, I will read it for you, refers to Jesus when He says, "For you will not leave my soul in Hades, nor will you allow your Holy One to see corruption." And in fact, Jesus went down to the grave, but He rose from this same grave. And Hades was not able to hold Jesus in for the reason that He says in Revelation 1:18, "I am He who lives and was dead, and behold, I am alive forevermore. Amen. And I have the keys of Hades and death." When did He get these keys? When He died and rose again. He snatched the keys of Hades and said, "You don't lock this door anymore, because on this rock I will build my church, and your gates, Satan, the gates where you try to hold dead people in, will not prevail against my church." Why? Because I have first entered your house. When you thought I was done with, when you thought I was going to be crucified and laid in a tomb, and the stone was not be able to be rolled for me to raise again, I went right through that stone, and I rose again, and I snatched the keys, because I prophesied what was already prophesied to Abraham. Your descendants will be as the stars of heaven, and as the sand which is on the seashore, and your descendants which will possess the gates of your enemies. And on this rock I will build my church, and the gate of Hades will not prevail against it, for the same and simple reason that Jesus has the keys of the place where dead souls are in. And He has called us to go in there and get them. Our outlook on church is so wrong. We think, when we read this verse, that the gate of Hades will not prevail against the church, meaning they will not be able to invade us when we congregate. But this is not what Jesus said. The church is us going, moving, as the Hebrews were doing in the wilderness, followed by the rock, and following the pillar of cloud, following the pillar of fire, moving on toward their destiny, toward the promised land. And we are this church, this congregation, moving on toward the spiritual promised land. We are the light of the world, and we are attracting people, because if we are light, then we are also the witnesses of the gospel. John 1:7 speaks about John the Baptist and says, "This man came for a witness, to bear witness of the light, that all through Him might believe." And even if Jesus is the light, you are just like John the Baptist, a disciple of Jesus Christ, and you are here, and the purpose of you being a Christian is to bear witness of the light wherever you are. So the first thing that you are called to do is assault the gates of Hades, knowing that the word of Jesus will come to pass. They will not prevail against you, meaning they will not prevail in keeping you out. And once you're in and you get what is yours and what the Lord has called you to get, they will not prevail in keeping you in. You can freely enter and leave and get what the Lord has called you to do. Is there a soul that the Lord has placed as a burden for salvation in your heart? Are you praying for someone right now? You assault them with light, being its witness, the witness of the gospel, the witness that you are a child of Christ. If I was to look on your life, would I be able to say, "Oh, surely he's a Christian"? And you assault them with salt. Jesus said, "You are the light of the world, and you are the salt of the earth." Your taste has to be different. The way you taste to other people has to be different. You assault the gate of Hades with light, and you assault them with love, with the assurance that the strong man is already bound, with the assurance that Jesus holds the keys of Hades, with the assurance that whatever dead person, spiritually dead person is in there, that the Lord has placed in your heart to go and get, go get it. Whatever dead dream, whatever dead hope is part of you and resting in Hades, go and get it.